How y'all doing?
All right, how you doing?
Good, yourself? Good. I'm open for questions.
First 20 games, can you assess your team's performance?
Slow start, 1-3-2. We're 9-3-2 the last 14. I thought early on the special teams weren't performing the way we wanted, but recently they've been much better. Penalty killing's been excellent. I think we've been up 1 goal in the last 16 shorties. Power play, I know that they're looking at a few changes here going forward. League is really tight. We're in the thick of the race. Good on the road. Haven't been good at home. That's sort of where I see it.
Any definitive timeline on Drew and what the plan is to replace him on the roster?
Week to week. Hopefully in a couple weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, we're hoping. No changes. We're going to go with 6 defensemen. Everybody's playing down there. Keep them playing. Ontario's sort of in the neighborhood here, and we're here, so when we need somebody, we can get somebody. Tonight, we are going to leave Kemp's. We're going to put Drew on IR so that Kemp's we can leave home tonight to get ready for tomorrow night. Bring Copley along as the backup for tomorrow. That's about it.
Ken, on what you said about the league being tightly bunched, what do you make of the parity not only in the Pacific but throughout the league, and what do you see as you guys' opportunity here going forward, given the widespread parity?
Well, I looked today. There's 5 teams in the league under 500. So I think there's the highest percentage of games going to overtime since they implemented the overtime. So it all adds up to it's a really close league. I think that the last few years there were some teams that were in rebuild mode that were trying to build for the future, and the future's now. So I think you've got pretty well all the teams in the league that are pushing to try to get in, and it's a great league. It's really close. It's I think it's going to be a lot of teams. I think it's going to go this way all year. Maybe a couple teams will get away on one end and the other end, but I think that there's lots of teams really close. I just look at the scores every night and the games every night. Like I said, 30% of the games are going to overtime. Lots of 1-goal games. It's a really, really close league.
And then on top, the home/road record, it's almost a weird inverse.
Yeah.
Last year, I mean, is that just one of those weird year-over-year
Well,
deals, or I imagine the home you want to get going?
yeah, no, I mean, we want to get going at home. I think that, I can't really tell you why we're playing records better. I think we've been playing, I think we come out of the gate and we had some new people, and it took a few games there to figure out where everybody fit. Now we've played lots of road games recently than home games. We had those 3 or 4 at home in the first 6 or 7. So hopefully we've got some home games coming up here after tomorrow night in San Jose. So hopefully we keep playing, good hockey, and it doesn't matter where we're playing, we're going to win games.
Ken, is there anybody that's exceeded your expectations, and maybe anybody that's underachieving that is concerning?
No, I think Corey Perry's been a great story. I don't know, we kind of thought he'd be at a point a game, 20 games in, or close to a point a game. So he's had, we thought he'd have a big impact on or hoped he'd have a big impact on our team in the power play. He probably had his big impact on 5-on-5. We've got some bottom of the, some goals out of Armia and some goals out of Perry at the bottom. I think that we'd like a little more offense. I think there's some people on the roster that historically have produced, and I would expect that, think that we're going to get a little more offense out of some people. I think we're 6th in the league in goals against. That's been the calling card for the team. The first 6 games, I think we were like 25th, 26th, 27th. So the last 15 games, we must be near the top of the league in goals against. If we were that low the first 5 games, that's been the calling card here the last couple of years is good defense, goals against, and we need that to continue. So, I think there's lots of good signs, but you always feel you can play better. And every night's, I call it a playoff game. I mean, you guys watching the games. I mean, it's every night. It's 2-1 in Washington. It's 1-0 in Ottawa. We had a couple of games there where we scored some goals. In 3-2 in Pittsburgh. We're down 2-1 in the third period. We scored 2 goals. That's the league. That's the league that we're in. So got to find ways to grind out wins. Special teams are critical. Being able to check is critical. Goaltending is critical. And, our team is built that we're going to need some offense by committee. Obviously, we've got some people there on the lineup that can score. Historically, they score better, but we need a bunch of people to pitch in, and that's going to be the key to our success.
How would you evaluate your depth and quality at the center position right now? You haven't gotten a lot of production, a lot of goals, especially from it, and you're looking ahead to next year having to fill a hole in your top 6.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, Kopi's got 3 goals now in the last 10 games. I think he went the first 5-6 games without a goal, and he missed a few games. Obviously, I thought Phil Deneau has played much better lately. I think early on we had lots of people not. I mean, if you're asking me to go through the first 6 games, we were 1-3-2. Didn't think much was going on. We weren't good on special teams. Now we're back to playing the type of hockey they think that we need to play to win. I think if we can continue to play, I don't know what analytics are saying, but the games that I'm watching are pretty close. We're getting scoring chances, and if you keep getting scoring chances, throwing pucks at the net, pucks are going to go in.
I want to ask you about Kuzi also. You
Yeah.
brought him back on a show-me deal.
Yeah.
3 straight healthy scratches. Where do you see his game at and him fitting into the mix?
I believe he's going back in tomorrow night. So, he obviously was a big, at the trade deadline, he was a big piece in making the power play go. And there was, and scoring offense. So, he's a guy that can provide offense. Hopefully this reset, gets him going the way he was at the end of last year.
Do you communicate with the coaching staff about decisions like taking an Andrei Kuzmenko out of the lineup?
Yes. The final decision comes to the coach. That's what he's hired to do, to coach. But certainly before he makes decisions, he talks to me and he gets my opinion. But he's got the final say. On occasion, do I overrule him? On occasion, but for the most part, I believe the coach should coach.
Can you maybe give us a little peek into your philosophy on how many times you meet with players individually, how many times you meet with a team? I'm sure it changes based on results, but do you have like a philosophy of how much you do that?
Well, I meet with the whole group at the start of the year.
Or sometimes GM.
And I hope I don't meet with them the rest of the year.
There you go.
I mean, that's, so there was times in the past with past teams I met too many times. When you're meeting with the team too many times, it means your team's underperforming. Individually, I meet when necessary. Again, I think that the first thing for the player is to talk to the coach, and then I work with the coach, and if the coach feels or I feel that I need to get in the mix, then I get in the mix with a meeting.
Do you find that's always a concern issue, or sometimes you go down and say, hey, things are looking great with the way you're performing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't call anybody in to tell them they're playing great. I mean, I might swing by the locker room and bump into them and tell them I think they're playing great. Usually when they're coming up to my office, it's because they're not playing great, that we think they can play better.
Ken, what is it about Adrian Kemper that maybe we don't see that made it so important to be able to get this deal done?
That you don't see?
Yeah.
I don't really understand.
Beyond the
Like,
obvious.
besides
Oh.
goal scoring, like behind
Yeah.
closed doors, behind the scenes that we don't see about him.
Well, I mean, you guys are in the room. I think, you know, he's a really good player. You know, he's produced 40-goal seasons and 30 plus, I don't know, 2-3 times in a league that's hard to score. So he's a scorer. He's got good speed. He competes hard, plays physical. He can play in the penalty kill. He can play, obviously he's on the power play. You know, he's a good skater. He's a good person. He's well respected in the locker room. Is there anything else? Like he's a really good player. And when you look at his resume and his age, he's a player that we couldn't lose. Obviously, we're losing Kopitar at the end of the year, who's announced that this is his last year. I think it was important to keep Adrian in the lineup. Obviously, it took some time to find a solution. Obviously, when you sign a contract, both sides feel good about the solution, the 8 years at 10.6. And we're thrilled to keep him in a Kings jersey. And, you know, he's a legitimate first liner, top 6 forward on any team in the National Hockey League.
Okay, the
When
number,
you talked about just how close these games are, right, throughout the league. We've seen his impact so far this season. How important is it to have a guy like him on your team, you know, playing in such close games?
Well, it's incredibly important. You know, he's a one-shot scorer. You know, he can get a scoring chance and he can shoot the puck in the net. There's not a lot of players. He's in a, I don't know how big the group is, but he's in a group of players in the National Hockey League that can score 30 plus goals. Has done it before and can do it again. He just again, because he's a good skater, I think that he's going to be able to do it longer than maybe some other people, because you know skating, getting to open areas is a big part of the game. So, you know, he plays the point in the power play. He's also in the past. I remember when I was on other teams. I mean, he can play at the top of the circle. He's got a great one-timer, so he can play different spots on the power play. Plays in the penalty kill. Plays in your first line. Plays against the other team's best players. Plays against their best defensemen. You know, when you play against the LA Kings, the other team's going to put their best players, and he still produces. So those players are hard to find.
the number wasn't at the top of the market like Cash or Connor. So why did it linger? Why to land on that number? That seems to be pretty reasonable on both sides.
Why did it linger? I mean, difference of we had worked a difference of positions, I guess.
He becomes the top paid forward, but not the top paid player on the team next year. Is there any sort of internal cap structure that would require that coincidence?
No, I mean, obviously, as you all know, the cap's going up. It's 95 and going to 104 and going to 113. So we're going to find here going forward that you've just seen here the last 6 weeks, a number of players have signed around the league, and the cap numbers are going up. So so I think that the caps are going up. I mean, caps are going up. Salaries are going up.
But no internal limits on what could have been done?
What could have been done in this negotiation?
Yeah.
I don't really understand the question.
Just curious if exceeding other players' contracts would be a consideration.
No. I think when you're a player and you sign and the cap's going up 8 to 10 million every year, you got to expect that at some point in time people are going to go buy you. I mean, maybe not in 2 or 3 months, but in 2, 3, 4 years, they have to go buy you.
Now that he's signed, what's the number one priority item on the list now?
In terms of signing,
Just as a GM.
I think to evaluate. You know, the trade deadline's coming beginning of March. You guys are covering. There's not a lot of deals out there. There's lots of rumors that are. I don't know if it's necessarily. You know, I've been a manager. Some are real, some aren't real. But I think that everyone's evaluating their team. The standings are really close, and we got to play games. We got to play hockey games. There's probably, 40 games to go before the trade deadline. Around 60 games is the trade deadline. So it's now a matter of evaluating our team. And if I think at some point in time, and I've talked to some teams, but there's nothing, and not a lot, but I've talked to some teams. I went to the managers' meetings there, talked to a few people. It's just a matter of evaluating our team. And if we think we need to do something, then we need to do something. But I, as we made the moves in the summertime, part of the reason we made them, obviously we had Kopitar down for, I don't know how many games did he miss? What did he miss? 4, 5, 6 games. We're now going to miss Doughty for a few games. You got to have some internal depth. You got to have people that can step up and eat up those minutes. So and find ways to win hockey games.
Yeah, next player on the contract list would be Brant Clark. Obviously, different situation because he's an RFA, so you have some control. But how do you approach that? Have you given any thought to it? Is that a short-term bridge deal, or with the cap going up, you'd like to get him?
I've talked to his agent a little bit. Nothing's going on right now. Obviously, he's a restricted free agent. We have until the summertime, so we'll watch.
Evaluation, though, do you think this is maybe a good time to evaluate Grant with Drew being out and maybe he gets a few more minutes?
I guess so. I think, yeah, I guess for sure. But I liked that he was playing. I liked the pair. Him and Eddie have been a good pair. I think that he's an important part of the future. He's also an important part of the present. He's one of 6 guys. He plays on the second power play. The other night when we were behind in Washington, he played, I think, almost 22 minutes, 21:50 or something. So because he's, that's who he was as a junior player. That's what we're hoping he's going to grow into. But I think, again, he's still pretty young. He's in a great spot in my opinion.
Jim talked about Grant's defending.
Who?
In camp.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how it is much improved.
Yeah.
in his mind. And the numbers so far have
Yeah.
pointed that out.
Yes.
In terms of his improvement. Was there like has there been, or was there like a measured plan, push, whatever, discussion whatsoever in terms of building Grant up to becoming in all situations?
Well, I think it starts I think it starts in the summertime, when guys go to the gym every day, and for young players it starts in the summertime. I think he had a real good summer. His numbers in training camp showed that he had a good summer, and I think that. I think that I think he's in a good spot. They've paired him up with a vet. That's what we did in Edmonton with Bouchard and Broberg, with Duncan Keith and with Matthias Ekholm, and that's what's going on here. Brant's with a good pro. They've found good chemistry. He's on the second power play. We use 5 forwards on the first power play. I think he's in a good spot.
What's your philosophy as far as balancing, developing his B game, conditional stuff, but also, letting him play to his strength?
Well, the most important thing is winning. Right now, if we were in a rebuild mode, the most important thing might be just to play by young players. Right now, we're trying to, where our team is at, what's been accomplished here the last few years, the most important thing is winning, and at the same time, obviously playing some young people, but they are playing. Brant's playing, Laffy's playing, Turk centering the fourth line. I think Byfield's number 1 in our team in terms of minutes up front. So we're trying to compete with the best teams in the West. We're trying to compete with the best teams in our division. We're trying to be a playoff team. When we go to the rink every day, we're trying to win the game. So, and he's a part of that. He's one of. We got 3 pairs. Probably the 5-on-5. Probably the Anderson Doughty play a little bit more 5-on-5. But he basically rolls 3 pairs. We think that that's going to be a strength of our team as we go here over the next 60 games is that we can roll 3 pairs. Like I said, he does play on the second power play. When there is an injury, we saw the other night he plays more minutes. I think he's in a good place.
And your thoughts on CC and Dooman in 20 games?
I'm happy.
Dan, you talked about Corey Perry earlier on the ice. As you talk about those younger players, how valuable is a guy like that off the ice as well, as an example? A bunch of them have talked about learning from him.
Who's that?
Corey Perry.
How valuable is he? Like, I mean, he's a pro. He's a pro. You know, on and off the ice. He goes to the hard areas. He's got a lot of poise with the puck. Appears to be playing. I'm not sure that we had. I don't know what he's playing. He's playing about 16 minutes. I'm not sure that we planned that, but he's earned it, and he's a Hall of Famer. He's still driven to be important, and he's an important guy on our team.
Coming back to Kempe, I know you guys kind of started talking in earnest at the combine and that sort of thing. You alluded to the prominent signing since. Did his number come in about where you thought it was, a little lower, a little higher, and then just given how the market shifted in a short period of time?
Little lower or higher compared to July or September or.
Started out in the summer, when you're looking ahead in negotiations, were you pleasantly surprised?
Well, I think that, you know, there was this unknown in July, right? You know, so, you know, I knew he had to go up from where he was, with 5.5 or 6. I mean, I think it's about where we kind of projected it to be, you know, maybe, you know, when you get into these things, the one side always like to be a little higher, and you'd like them to be a little lower. So you go through this whole process to find a solution. And again, you know, there's comps, there's where the cap is going, there's the player's role on the team. These are all the things that you take into account as you go through this negotiation to find a solution. Happy we found a solution.
Ken, you think this is a legitimate Stanley Cup contender right now?
I think define legitimate Stanley Cup contender. I mean, if you make the playoffs in the National Hockey League, the 8th seed went to the finals 2 years ago. So what's define a
Conference final.
you think someone can go to the? Can we go to the Final Four?
Yeah.
Sure, why not?
Last question. Andrzej Kopitar announced that he would retire at the end of this year. You said the priority now is winning and evaluation. If an opportunity presented itself to acquire a player to replace him next season, but it would cost players on the roster today, would you take one step back this season to potentially move the franchise forward a step or two next season?
The answer would be yes, but I don't think what you're proposing is real. I think you're talking about a 23-year-old center iceman that has the potential to be a number one, a stud down the road. I don't see many of those guys getting traded, personally. So the answer would be yes. Do I think that player that you're talking about is going to be available this summer? I don't, but if he's available, we'll be in there kicking, swinging.